stability and as far as balance goes. So I can't say for sure.
At what point, I guess, at what point are you happy with a map?
At what point am I happy with the map?
Yeah, I mean, at what point do you sit down, like, you're making your map, you're making changes, you're getting feedback. At what point do you say, you know what, this is, like, done? Or does that ever happen?
Well, you kind of just have it in your mind, like, okay, like you already know what you're going to do for a map. And so when you do it, you say, okay, I'm done. I've created it. I'm going to upload images. I'm going to create a thread. I'm going to publish it and things like that. So you are done with the creation. Now you have to test it. So from there, it can be an ongoing process depending on what your feedback is. You may not get that much feedback. People very rarely will just say, hey, this is a great map. There's no balance changes I can see. And then you can say, okay, I might be done, but you never really know for sure. It just depends on the quality of playtesting.
Do you ever get that feeling where where you may even get feedback and you're like, you know what? Fuck you, this is done. I like it like this.
Oh man.
Does that ever come?
I know some of my teammates are watching. They know how gullible I am to map feedback. I can take things a little seriously sometimes. But, you know, when I see a master Protoss say, like, oh, you need to remove this, I almost instantly think, like, oh, no, he's a master Protoss. I have to listen.
Mm-hmm.
He knows all about it, but yet it's like it's not bad. I really suffered a lot from this on Ohana. If you ever look at the thread on, like, page 2 or 3, you'll see so many different third setups that I've tried. Because people were telling me, like, oh, this third is far away, so I'm, like, trying to fix it. I'm trying to move it closer and everything. It's just, like, it drove me insane. And at the very end, I kept it the way it was because my teammates are like, dude, Travis, screw them.
Mm-hmm.
The third is fine.
It's fine.
So it drove me insane. I mean, there are times when, yeah, you just need to say, hey, you know what? 99 people say they like this third. You don't. Screw you. I don't care if you're masters. I don't care if you're grandmasters. 90 masters and 10 bronze say they like it. You, the only grandmaster, say you don't. Screw you. I don't care. I'm going with the majority.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of just how we base it. That's how, you know, sometimes we go about that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yep. So, are there, I guess what I'm trying to think of is, at what point does the opinion matter or not? And at what point is your opinion more important? Or your team's opinion?
Depends on who your players are. Depends solely on the players. You can take good map makers' feedback into account. You know, bronze players, now I've done a lot of playtesting on all my maps, and I can tell you for sure right now that when you're trying to balance a map, bronze players just don't give anything. They don't know about it. They just play it and say, like, oh, this looks pretty. This is a cool map.
I can six pool. It's cool. As long as I can keep six pooling or proxy void race, I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they don't take balance into they don't take it into account. They'll just be like, oh, this is a fun map. Whereas a master player will jump in and he'll say, like, okay, the first thing I notice is this little problem.
Mm-hmm.
This little problem right here, and they'll point it out like throughout the game. And that is the type of stuff you want to pay attention to. Or if they don't say anything, you can just ask them after, like, okay, so what do you think? What would you change? And things like that. So I think that higher level players are definitely the people you want to go to as far as balance suggestions.
I guess in the end though, what makes them right? I mean, who decides what's right?
Well, here's what I do. I'll take a certain feedback, and like someone will say, okay, that high ground is too choky. I will take that, and I will continue to play test, and I will ask players, the newer players and all the new play testers, and say, hey, do you think the high ground is too choky? And get their opinion on that as well. I don't just rely on one person's opinion. I ask, and I continue to test, and I try and see, hey, does everyone else agree with that? And then if most people agree with that, then I can say, okay, you know what? That is an opinion that is correct. That is something I do need to change. You can't rely on a master's only opinion because he's just a master. Therefore, he must know everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's the real key there.
All right. Well, you know, I think that kind of wraps us up for today. We've been going for quite a while. I think I'm gonna end up shutting it down. We're about out of time. But anything else you want to? Any other shout-outs? Any other final thoughts? Things that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, as far as my map making stream goes, feel free to tune in. I'll try and coach you through it as much as possible, but also don't forget about Monitor. Monitor's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
He has his own map making stream as well in user stream section on Team Liquid, so you can check out his as well. Don't forget Prodigy has Mapcraft State of the Terrain.
Yep.
He usually hosts it once a week. He'll kind of walk you through some stuff. So there are different avenues that you can take as far as map making goes, if you're interested. But other than that, just a great shout out to MCL, ESB, and my good guys, TPW. Just hack away at the maps, man. Just keep making them. One day we're gonna shine.
It'll happen. I mean, the game is gonna keep growing. I think, and like we've talked about in the past, I think a lot of it just comes down to the instability of the game as a whole, and how it keeps changing, and how it's not even done. There's 2 more versions still to come out, and I think in the end, just like with Brood War, part of what made Brood War great was the maps and the community that was really brought on by the lack of Blizzard support. And so I think that after all of it finishes, then Blizzard's gonna, of course, they're gonna disappear some. And at least to a certain extent, and I think at that point, even more emphasis will be placed onto the community groups, you know. So, I don't know.
You know what's really cool?
Huh.
I think it's... I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think it is really cool how early this is already starting in StarCraft 2. It actually took a couple of years or so for Brood War.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we're not even a year and a half into StarCraft 2, and this is already starting to happen. So I can really see where this is going to go in 3, 5, 10 years.
Is that on that note though? Is there a fear of it fizzling out quicker because of that?
Is there a fear of what?
Of it kind of fizzling out more quickly, or getting old much more quickly.
Well, here's the thing, because I think it's going to remain fresh for a very long time. Here's why. There are 3 expansions.
Mm-hmm. Well, two.
Each expansion.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
2 more.
Two more, but each one is going to introduce new units, maps, and everything like that. So
new textures, terrain effects.
Exactly, and you know what? New units means certain map features are going to have to look different from now on. You know.
Yep.
So it's really it's not just going to make game balance different, but it's going to change the way maps are made. And yeah, and Seth in chat just said new destructible rocks. I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, you know, it's hard to say.
I actually, and on that note, I actually like that idea of the destructible rocks from Heart of the Swarm, the ones that you can destroy and it blocks the path. I actually think that's kind of interesting. Yeah,
it is, and
well, it just I like I've talked about. I like the creative and the dynamic aspect of the game. You know, I don't like it when it feels stale. I like when people come up with just crazy new things, or You know, like, not even necessarily crazy things like you think of, like, when you think of TLO playing, right? But more like those little tiny tactical things that no one else thought of or noticed before, you know? To me, that's what makes it such a great game to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
I mean,
the maps are...
You see little features like that. You see little new features like that with the destructible rocks, new units, new map textures. You're going to see a huge revolution of new maps coming through. And not to mention that when HOTS comes out, the quality is not going to be that good as opposed to a year after HOTS is out.
Sure.
When the quality starts to improve more and people start knowing, like, oh, I need to use these new destructible rocks in these types of areas from now on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that map community is definitely going to grow. I think that community maps in tournaments is definitely going to be fresh for at least 3 or 4 years before everything starts to fall into place, and quality maps from then on will start to be produced more.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything will be very fresh for a while.
Yep. All right, man. Well, I think we're going to have to call it a show. I want to thank you and your team for joining us, for coming on, talking maps. And you've been on a couple times before, and I'd like to have you back again. I love every once in a while bring on someone talking about maps, especially since I'm like I said, I'm not a map maker, but I'm a huge fan of understanding what the maps mean to the community, and a huge fan of the community-driven projects. So it's good to have you guys and have your guys' support. And so thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's good to be back.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon. And everyone, head over to sc2newscast.com. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We have all that kind of normal social networking garbage, whatever. So all the links are on the side. You can leave feedback on the Team Liquid thread. So thanks for joining us, and we will catch you guys next time.
That's cool. Go TPW! Woo!